Have you ever wondered who really controls some of Kenya's biggest businesses? Behind the supermarkets we shop in, the banks we use, the food on our tables, the buildings we see every day, and even some of the media we watch, are people who have built enormous fortunes. Some started with almost nothing, others inherited businesses that had already become powerful, and some quietly built their wealth through investments that most ordinary Kenyans rarely hear about. Today, we're counting down 20 of Kenya's wealthiest business personalities and families. And before we begin, remember this: private wealth is difficult to calculate. The figures you're about to hear are estimates, not official declarations of personal wealth. So, let's get into it. And trust me, number 1 is a name you probably already know. Starting our list is Suleiman Said Shabal, with an estimated fortune of around $20 million in the 2025 Billionaires Africa ranking. But Shabal's story isn't simply about having money. He became known in Kenya's financial and energy sectors and was closely associated with Gulf Energy. He also played a role in the development of Gulf African Bank, one of Kenya's pioneers in Islamic banking. What makes his story interesting is that his business journey crosses several industries, showing how Kenya's wealthiest entrepreneurs often don't depend on just one source of income. At number 19 is a name millions of Kenyans recognize: Samuel Kamau Macharia, founder of Royal Media Services. His estimated fortune in the ranking is about $25 million. But his real influence goes beyond the figure. Macharia built Royal Media Services into one of the country's most powerful private media companies. And of course, one of its biggest brands is Citizen TV, alongside numerous radio stations. So when Kenyans talk about business empires that influence everyday life, this is certainly one of them. Next is Kimani Rugendo, estimated at around $28 million. He built his fortune through Kenyan Kenya, the company behind popular consumer products including fruit juices and bottled water. This is a perfect example of something we often forget. You don't necessarily need to own a bank or hundreds of acres of land to become wealthy. Sometimes, you simply build products that millions of people buy repeatedly. And that's exactly what Rugendo managed to do. At number 17 is Adel Popat, with an estimated fortune of around $30 million. Popat is associated with the Simba Corporation, a diversified business involved in areas including automobiles, hospitality, engineering, and financial services. His interests also include the luxury hospitality sector. The lesson here is simple: diversification matters. Instead of putting everything into one business, wealthy entrepreneurs often spread their investments across different industries. Coming in at number 15 is David Longat, with an estimated fortune of approximately $35 million. His business interests stretch across tea, real estate, hospitality, and trading. His portfolio has included DL Koisagat Tea Estate, investments in Tanzania, property in Mombasa, and hospitality businesses. But his story also shows something important about wealth. Having valuable assets doesn't always mean everything is easy. Business empires can face debt, changing markets, and financial pressure. In other words, even wealthy people can experience serious business challenge. At number 14 is Bharat Shah, estimated at around $35 million. He is associated with Kenafric Industries, one of East Africa's major confectionery manufacturers. Think about the snacks and consumer products found in Kenyan shops. Behind many successful consumer brands is a long story of manufacturing, distribution, and competition. Kenafric expanded beyond confectionery into beverages, biscuits, and other products, while building a regional presence across several African countries. Number 13 brings us to Julius Mawale, an entrepreneur associated with healthcare, technology, and infrastructure. His estimated wealth in the ranking is around $40 million. But his most ambitious project is what really stands out. Mawale is behind Mawale Medical and Technology City, a massive development combining healthcare, technology, and infrastructure. Whether you look at it as a business project or a vision for the future, the scale of the idea is remarkable. It's a reminder that some entrepreneurs aren't simply thinking about making money today. They're thinking about what entire cities could look like tomorrow. Just outside our top 10 is Jaswant Singh Rai, estimated at about $45 million. Rai is associated with the Rai Group, with interests in sugar, timber, paper, edible oils and real estate. His business empire shows just how important manufacturing and agriculture remain to Kenya's economy. While technology gets most of the attention today, industries such as food production, agriculture and manufacturing continue to create enormous fortunes. Entering the top 10 is Suresh Bhagwanji Shah, estimated at around $45 million. He is the founder of I&M Bank Group, a financial institution with operations extending beyond Kenya. His story is essentially the story of banking. Build a financial institution, expand it over decades, and create value through ownership and investment. And that is exactly what Shah's journey represents. At number 9 is David Kimani Mukuha, associated with the Naivas family business. His estimated wealth is around $50 million. Naivas became one of Kenya's biggest supermarket chains, and the Mukuha family's involvement dates back to the company's origins. The family later sold significant stakes while retaining an important interest. And this is one of the biggest lessons from Kenya's wealthiest families. Sometimes, the smartest business move isn't holding everything forever. It's knowing when to sell part of an asset while keeping exposure to its future growth. At number 8 is Humphrey Kariuki, estimated at around $60 million. Kariuki is the founder of Janus Continental Group, with interests in energy, petroleum, construction, real estate and hospitality. His portfolio includes major businesses and properties across different sectors. And this is another common pattern among Kenya's wealthiest entrepreneurs. They don't stop after one successful company. They use the profits and opportunities from one industry to enter another. That's how a business becomes an empire. At number 7 is James Mwangi, the longtime CEO of Equity Group. His estimated wealth in this ranking is around $70 million, much of it connected to his ownership stakes in financial companies. But here's the fascinating part. James Mwangi's wealth story is closely connected to the growth of Equity Group. Under his leadership, Equity became one of East Africa's major financial institutions. So his story isn't simply about receiving wealth. It's about building value through leadership, ownership and long-term growth. At number 6 is one of Kenya's most famous political and business families, the Mwa family. The family's estimated wealth in this particular ranking is around $100 million. The heirs of former President Daniel Arap Moi have interests associated with sectors including media, education, aviation, logistics and real estate. The family has also been associated with Standard Media Group, Siganon Group, Kabarak University and other investments. This is where wealth becomes more than an individual story. It's about generational wealth. Money, property, companies and influence can move from one generation to another, creating an economic legacy that can last decades. At number 5 is Mary Ann Musangi, who leads much of the estate associated with the late businessman Chris Karubi. Her estimated fortune in this ranking stands at around $100 million. Chris Karubi was one of Kenya's most recognizable entrepreneurs, with interests ranging from real estate and investments to media. After his death in 2021, the family's business interests continued under the next generation. And that is the real story here. Building wealth is difficult, but preserving wealth after the founder is gone can be even harder. At number 4 is Mama Ngina Kenyatta, matriarch of the Kenyatta family. The ranking estimates her fortune at approximately $210 million, although estimates of the broader Kenyatta family's wealth vary considerably depending on what assets and liabilities are included. The family's business interests have been associated with agriculture, banking, real estate, hospitality and media. Among the better-known holdings connected to the family are Brookside Dairy, interests in NCBA, property investments and the Northlands development. But perhaps the biggest story isn't the money itself. It's the generational nature of the wealth. This is a family whose economic story has been connected to Kenya for decades. At number 3 is Zarin Morali, with an estimated fortune of approximately $220 million in the ranking. She oversees the estate of her late husband, Naushad Morali, one of Kenya's best-known businessmen. The Murali family's interests have included agriculture, manufacturing, finance and real estate. The family has also held major stakes in companies including Samir Africa, Sasini Tea and NCBA Group. This is another example of how wealth can survive beyond the person who originally built it. Naushad Murali may be gone, but the business legacy he created continues through his family. Now we reach number 2. Narendra Raval, popularly known as Guru, is one of Kenya's most recognizable industrialists. His estimated wealth in the ranking is about $240 million. He built Devki Group, a major industrial empire involved in steel, cement and aluminium. And here's what makes his story so fascinating. Raval's journey is often described as one of entrepreneurship and industrial expansion. Instead of building wealth from a single property or investment, he built businesses that operate in industries fundamental to a growing country. Every road, building and construction project requires materials. And Raval positioned himself right in the middle of that demand. That's the power of industrial wealth. And finally, number 1. The name at the top of this particular ranking is Bimji Dapar Shah, founder of Bidco Industries, with an estimated fortune of approximately $420 million. But the number is only part of the story. Bidco began in 1970 as a garment manufacturer. Then the business evolved. It moved into soaps, edible oils, detergents and other consumer products. Today, Bidco has a major regional footprint, with products distributed across multiple African countries. And here's the part that really stands out. The products associated with the company aren't necessarily luxury products for the rich. They're everyday products. Products found in ordinary homes. That means the business model was built around something incredibly powerful, selling essential products to millions of people. And that's perhaps the biggest lesson from Kenya's wealthiest entrepreneurs. You don't always become wealthy by selling something expensive to a few people. Sometimes you become wealthy by creating something affordable that millions of people keep buying. So there you have it. 20 of Kenya's wealthiest business personalities and families, from banking and manufacturing to retail, agriculture, media, energy and real estate. But there's one thing I want you to remember. Behind every fortune is a story. Some stories begin with inheritance. Some begin with a small business. Some come from decades of investing. And others come from taking enormous risks when almost nobody believed in the idea. And while the exact numbers can change, because private wealth is extremely difficult to measure, the businesses these individuals built have left a major mark on Kenya's economy. Now I want to hear from you. Who do you think should have been number 1? And which wealthy Kenyan should we investigate next? Drop the name in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to Tangaza TV, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who loves stories about money, business and the powerful people shaping Kenya. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the biggest fortunes are hiding in plain sight.